Good afternoon, everybody. This is Coach, Untouchable Customs 2.0, bringing you another episode today in the shop where we are working on Dad's 1969 Super Bee. Before I get into what we're going to take off today, what we hope to accomplish, I want to give you a little bit of story about the history of my dad's Bee. He bought this car back in 1977 out of Jamestown, New York. When he bought it, it was an automatic. I don't remember if he ever knew if it was a factory 4-speed, of which I found out some years later. But soon after he bought it, he bought a 440 engine for it and put it in here. But he left the 383 badges on the hood scoops. This allowed him to race other cars, and those guys thought that he had a 383. But with the 440 in it, he was more successful in winning races than not. I just recently found this out. I was 8 years old when he bought the Bee, and I remember going to visit him in Jamestown, New York, and his best friend Levi had a satellite who he named Kong. Kong also had a 440 in it, and my dad and Levi would often race up and down the country roads of East Otto, New York. In 1980, he moved to Chicago. I was able to spend more time with my dad, and he would come pick me up and we would ride around in the Bee. And I fell in love with this car. In 1983, he moved to Cleveland. And I remember going to visit him when I was about 14, which would have been 84, I believe. And while he was at work, I used to drive the Bee up and down the carport area in his apartment complex. I was too scared to drive it on the road, as, of course, I didn't have a driver's license. So in 1986 or 87, he moved to Portland, Maine. But let me back up a little bit. He was supposed to give me the Bee for my 16th birthday, which was 1985. And I was telling all my friends, I was really excited, and I waited on my mom's porch for him to show up. He called me the next day and said that the Bee broke down. This really broke my heart, because as time went on, you would think that, okay, well, he'll fix it and he'll bring it, but he never did. I didn't find out until I was in my mid-20s that my mom begged him not to bring the car to me because she felt that I would hurt myself because it was too fast and too powerful of a car. My first car ended up being a 1976 Malibu. I was upset with my dad for some years over that because I really, really wanted to be. But I understood why he did what he did, and I may have done the same thing too. You know, when you're young and you get a really nice car, peer pressure causes you to do things that you wouldn't normally do. So for the safety of me, he kept the car and took it to Maine with him after getting married in Cleveland in 1986 or 87. So when he moved to Maine, the car sat in the driveway, and it became one of those, I'll fix it up again one day. He had bought a 440 block and had it all machined and built and put it in a plastic bag. But in 1993, he decided to sell the car because it was just sitting in the driveway. He had my sister, and, you know, family stuff just gets in the way. He sold it to a guy who collects Mopars. Like I said, I was upset with my dad for some years, but I want to say around 94 or 95, you know, I went to visit my dad, and he asked me if I wanted to go to Mopar Heaven and visit the Bee. And I said, well, what's Mopar Heaven? He said, it's a place where this guy has 100 Mopars. And I said to him, yeah, right. There's no such thing. He says, okay. So he called the guy up and asked could we come and visit him, and he said yes. It felt like we were driving for about 3 hours, but it was actually about a 45-minute drive. I could not believe that the Bee was sitting in an open field with a bunch of Mopars beside it. And so every time I would go visit my dad, I would ask could we go to Mopar Heaven to visit the Bee. Back in 2008, somewhere around there, I went to visit my dad and I asked him could we go visit the Bee, and I asked the guy if he would be willing to sell the Bee back to me because I'd like to have it. He said the car is not for sale. So for the next 3 years, every time I went to visit my dad, I would ask him if the car was for sale and would he sell it back to me because I really wanted it. He said, no, the car is not for sale. I don't sell things. I don't sell cars. I don't sell parts. I just collect them. So I said to myself back in 2011 that I'll just go find a Super Bee and make it just the same color, same engine. I'll make it look like my dad's, and that'll be good enough. Well, back then my budget wouldn't allow me to, I couldn't find one in my budget. So I ended up finding a 70 Roadrunner, and my dad's best friend Levi had a 70 Roadrunner, although it was a satellite. It was a Roadrunner to me. So I figured that would be pretty cool to have a car similar to my dad's best friend. So I bought the car, and it needed a little bit of work, so I bought it in 2012, and I want to say in 2013 I sent it to the paint shop to do a restoration, had the engine taken out because it came with racing bucket seats, didn't have any back seat, and it needed some work. You know, it was a driver, but it needed some work. So that process ended up taking almost 2 years. Took longer than I thought, but it was a process that I did. So when I went back to Maine to visit my dad, I went to go see the guy that owned my dad's Bee, and I asked him if he would sell me some parts because I had bought a Roadrunner and I was restoring it and I needed some parts for it. And he said, I'll sell you parts on 3 conditions. 1, if I sell you parts, you don't make money off of me. Meaning if I sell you a part for $50, you don't go to sell it to somebody else for $200 and make money off of me. 2, don't tell anyone where I live. And 3, when you finish your Roadrunner, send me pictures so that I can see it. So like I said, I finished the Roadrunner in 2015. I sent him pictures, and I've been enjoying the Roadrunner since then. Back in 2017, July 2017, my dad called me and said, hey man, I got a phone call today. I said, let me guess. He wants to sell a Bee. He said, how did you know? I said, I don't know, I just had a feeling. So I hopped on a plane, I went out there, and we worked out a deal for me to buy the Bee back. I want to say a couple of days before Labor Day is when it got shipped here. And I was just ecstatic to have the car back. You know, the Bee is my first love of cars, and I want to put it back on the road and let my dad drive it again. But time and money is always a great factor in when it comes to restoring these cars. So I got it back in 2017, and now it's 2023, 6 years later, and I am in the process of disassembling the Bee so that I can move along step by step to get it back on the road. Now I'm gonna put a 440 in it, and I'm going to make it a 4-speed, back to what it originally is. It's not going to be an original numbers matching car, but I'm going to make it as close to the way it was when my dad had it as possible. So it's a very long process, but it's something that I want to do, and it's going to be long days. But I just wanted to share that with you, that people talk about their first love, and the B is my first love. So what we're gonna do today, what we hope to accomplish today, is I need to remove the passenger side glass. That'll be the last piece of glass, and the window regulator. And I'm hoping to start on the front of the car, disassembling, so the fenders and front clip, because I plan on taking the engine out at some point, probably next week. So stay tuned. I'll be back, and make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure to hit the like button, tap the subscribe, and turn on the notification bell if you want to see daily videos of Dad's '69 Super B named Jock. Later. Yo, what's going on? Untouchable Customs back again. My battery went out on me earlier, so I couldn't show you actually the removal of the regulator in the rear passenger side window. Got the glass out with no problem, but getting those regulators out, it's a process. You just can't take a couple screws off and pull it up. It doesn't work that way. You have to literally take it apart inside of the area in order to get it right. So what we did today, hold on one second. Let me get a flashlight so we can see a little better. Today, I finished taking out the hardware for the passenger door, which included the handle, the key tumbler, the crank, the regulator, and then for the back as well. Like I said, that was a task. I don't like to leave things messy, so I like to clean up and put my tools away to start fresh the next day, so I'm not looking for things. So tomorrow, I don't think we're gonna be doing much tomorrow. I'm gonna go to a baseball game, see my Yankees play. They're not doing very well, playing the White Sox. So I think right now we're winning, but yesterday we lost. So tomorrow will be the final game of the series. So I'm gonna try to go check them out. And then over the weekend, might be my last day doing something until Sunday or Monday of next week, as I'll be traveling to Detroit, Michigan. My good buddy Greg Qualls, those who don't know, or you do know, Gregory Qualls, who owned the 1970 Black Ghost Hemi RTSE 4-speed Challenger that sold at Mecum for just shy of $1 million. Was a real good friend of mine. He's having a celebration for his new car that he recently purchased Friday. That's the invite only, so can't really tell you much about that until after it happens. And then Saturday is Roadkill up in Pontiac, so we'll be there for that. Demonology will be there. Some other guys will be there. I'll probably be recording as well to bring you some highlights. So that's probably it for a little while, but you never know. Untouchable Customs. So make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on that notification bell so that when I upload videos, you will get notification and can check them out right away.